the people in the chat. Hotep to the people in the box. Hotep to the people in the box. Hotep to everybody tuning in. Another big brain talk. Hold on. That's better. That's much better. Another big brain talk back at you again. Hotep Jesus, we back. Another beautiful Friday night. Got a very special. I was speaking to this dude the other day, and he was saying something to me. He was like, I was explaining to him the companies that I was involved in. He was like, how come I don't know about this stuff? I never hear about it. And I'm like, bro, I talk about this before all of my streams, during my streams. It's on my website. So let me just go ahead and run y'all through that. There's 3 main companies I'm involved with. One of them is an artificial intelligence company, specializes in surveillance, turning commercial buildings into smart buildings, turning homes, ordinary homes, traditional homes, into smart homes. It's a smart hub, physical device, as well as software that runs on there. For businesses, we can do licensing of the software as well as installation of the hub. That's Wazo, wazosecurity.com. That link is also in the description box below. Also, if you want to get in on Bitcoin, we have coinbitsapp.com. I'm one of the partners there, one of the founding partners of coinbitsapp.com, which is a dollar cost averaging way to invest in Bitcoin. The safest way to invest in any security or asset is a dollar cost average over time, so you get the best price per share. And that's what we do. We specialize in automating your Bitcoin purchases. It's Bitcoin investing on autopilot. And last but not least, we have Gifitize. Gifitize is a miraculous and amazing app for Twitter. Allows you to save GIFs and videos directly from Twitter to your iPhone. We're working on the Android app. I know people have been asking for it. We're working on it. It's coming. But for right now, my iPhone users, they don't have a way to download videos and GIFs from Twitter. This is how we're dominating Twitter. Also, I'm an author. You can get my books in the description in the description box below, and visit my website at bryansharp.co. BRYANSHARPE.co. Somebody asked me, they said, who is this Brian Sharp guy? And I said, he's an amazing dude, but Hotep Jesus is Brian Sharp. Brian Sharp is my legal and lawful name. It's my slave name. So go to that website, Brian Sharp, BRYANSHARPE.co, to see everything I'm involved in, all the projects I'm involved in. Please and thank you. Shout out to people in the box. Hotep Dutch, I see you. Appreciate you. Definitely appreciate you. If you guys want to hop in this conversation, you want to ask questions, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit the super chats. For everybody watching right now, I need you to please hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, I need you to get subscribed. Get subscribed right now. So I need you to do. Hit the subscribe button. Need to lock you in, especially with all the stuff that's going on right now with censoring, etc. Need you guys to lock in with me here on YouTube till we find a better place to broadcast. Without further ado, tonight we're talking homeschooling. With a very intelligent gentleman, somebody who specializes in homeschooling and believes in homeschooling. It's an American patriot. Goes by the name of Rob Freeman. Rob, how are you, brother?
Very well. Thank you for having me on, Brian.
Awesome. How did you hear about me? Because I know you reached out some way, somehow. How'd you hear about me?
A lot of years ago, I was following you on Twitter way back in 2016, and I did try to reach you at the time, and I didn't hear back from you. But then now, I got on your email list and emailed you. I saw your thing on Fox News. That was pretty funny and very illustrating. And well, I saw it before on YouTube, before you were on Fox News. I was, following you on YouTube, and yeah, it's great. And, I think the Hotep movement is a great thing.
Dope. Awesome. Yeah, I don't know why we didn't connect. I have no idea. Probably because I sucked at checking my email back then. But now you're on my email list. For people that are not on my email list, BrianSharpDO/CO/sub to get on my email list. I send my daily newsletter out. Guys got to get on that thing. But yeah, that's the easiest way to get in contact with me is be on my email list. because I respond to all of my people on there. But when you reached out to me, I saw something odd. I was like, why did he say this? Did he want me to know this, or what is this? But you described yourself as a white nationalist. And I was just like, for some people, they'd be offended. To me, I'm like, oh, thank God these people fucking exist. Right. So tell me, I guess it's a two-part question. Why did you introduce yourself as a white nationalist? And what does that exactly mean to be a white nationalist to you?
Well, I think that it's important to disclose this. I didn't want you to find it out from somebody else. And it just means there's a lot of anti-white propaganda out there, and we just take our own side. And actually, I go way back to when the white nationalist movement was not as functional. It's a lot more functional than it is now. Around back in the 90s and 2000s, it was kind of oriented toward violence and had a kind of action movie idea of how it was going to accomplish things. And since then, we have a more long range idea of what we want to do. For example, we see a lot of people from foreign countries owning convenience stores. So, a very clear goal is that we own more convenience stores. We see a lot of foreign students in the universities majoring in engineering, and not many Americans majoring in engineering. So we need to put more Americans and more whites. But not just whites. America's got other races too that should also be in those engineering majors, and not all foreigners. Get it in the good jobs. And but for my in my circles, it's about, I want more whites to be engineers. I want more whites to own convenience stores. And yeah, so that would be it.
Yeah, that's interesting. We were just talking last night on our show, HOTEPS Binge Soldier, every Thursday, 8 p.m. And we were talking about the backlash that Booker T received, Washington received for a recent Netflix movie where there's a bunch of historical inaccuracies, of course, because it's just mostly written for drama purposes. But he believed the same thing. He felt that before Black people should go into these universities and into the world, they should first have a trade. And I resonate with that completely. I was raised by a dad who was an electrician. So I saw how important it was to have a trade, especially being around some of my other male friends, and they didn't know the difference between a Phillips screwdriver and an ordinary screwdriver. They did not use a drill, whereas, my father, showed me around the toolbox. We've built the, finished basements, you name it. Like, like I've seen the construction. So I understand what that does for a man. And I love that you put that out there. That's you think that's lacking in the white community, that they're not doing that anymore? You think, like, who do you think is doing that? Is like the Hispanic communities doing that?
Well, whites are still doing trades, not as much as they should. There's infinite work in the trades with all the rental properties and there's always houses that need to get fixed. So if you generally they become a carpenter, electrician, and plumber all at the same time. You can learn all three, and you might as well. And you will never be unemployed. And also, if you buy a property, you can, if you can become a landlord and fix up your own properties, and that'll save you a lot of money. Being a landlord is really the best way to get financial security. And having a trade, you'll always have work. You'll always be able to feed yourself and feed your family. I wish I had learned more trades. I was a Maytag man for a while, not a very good one, but I wish I had learned carpentry, plumbing, electrician. And now I think that every tradesman should learn at least freshman level physics, and every physicist, every engineer should do a trade, should know how to, wire up his own house, or, and fix his own machines.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But whites are not, they don't have enough, when they go to college, they're not well prepared. And if they try to major in engineering or physics, the professor throws the material at him really fast, and he, he's not ready for it, and he fails out, and the professor laughs, and next. And whereas the kids from India and China, they come here, they already learned all this stuff. It's nothing new to them. It's their second time around learning freshman physics and freshman chemistry. And so they do really well. They outcompete the Native American kids. And so, the physics majors and chemistry majors and engineering majors are mostly foreign students. And I really want to change that. And we can change that with homeschooling.
With the whole coronavirus thing right now, well, I'm just riffing off the top of my head. I'm trying to think about like what trades are probably hot right now, because a lot of businesses and trades have slowed down, or industries have slowed down because of the coronavirus and the quarantine. So I'm thinking about like what trades are probably hot right now.
Well, any kind of home repair.
Yeah.
If your sink is leaking, you need to fix that immediately. They'll always have that. I mean, as far as making quick money, I mean, I don't know, own gold, should have been prepared up till now. But
yeah.
I'm doing a big garden, and I mean, I have my own business, and I'm thrifty though. I'm all right. I mean, I'm making less money, but it's no big deal.
When you say garden, what are you growing in your garden?
Potatoes, winter squash, beans, tomatoes, principally.
And that's for your family?
And cabbage.
Is that for your family? You're going to sell some of that stuff?
No, I'm not going to sell it. Just for my family.
Just for the family. Yeah. I like that.
So there's great videos on YouTube now. You use hay. Use the Ruth Stout method. Use hay to spoiled hay, and you put it on top of the soil so you don't have to till or dig.
What do you mean?
Well, you go on YouTube and look up Ruth Stout.
Well, why would you have to till?
You don't till, no.
You drop the seeds and then drop the hay right on top?
Well, you put the hay down, and then like in rows, and then you put the seed potatoes in the hay, and they'll just grow out of the hay. And then you can also with regular plants, like the transplant plants, like cabbage or pepper plants. Yeah, you just make a planting hole and put it in the in the hay and have some dirt around it, but then put the hay in, and it will grow right out of that. And it'll keep down the weeds.
Okay.
That's the biggest problem in gardening is weeds.
Right. Hell yeah. So now with the coronavirus, of course, everybody's home, and with the kids, this is a perfect time to talk homeschooling. So walk me through this world of homeschooling, and where do we start with this?
Well, it's simple, but it's not easy. All right. If you're going to homeschool, the best way to homeschool is to train your kids to teach themselves. But before you can train your kids to teach themselves, you have to be able to teach yourself. If you're not willing to sit down and work out math problems at your level, whatever that level is, and always progress further, if you're not willing to sit down and work out math problems for 40 minutes a day, then you're not going to be a competent homeschooling parent. You have to be an autodidact. You have to teach yourself. And then you can train your kids to teach themselves. And initially it'll be more difficult. But as time goes by, they'll get much better at teaching themselves. And you'll just have to give them the next batch of material. You just have to buy the next book for them and make sure that, give them some testing on, particularly in math, on, what they learned, and move on. And as far as like reading and writing, just have them read good books, like have them read the Encyclopedia Britannica, get them history books, like from Barnes and Noble. They have the good ones with the color pictures, history of Rome, history of medieval Europe, all kinds of stuff like that. And then get, and if that's too easy for them, get harder stuff, but make sure, read it yourself first and make sure it's not too dry, because history can be written really entertainingly and really well, or it can be written really dryly. So, you want to taste it yourself first before you serve it to your kids. But have them.
You said the kids should be able to teach themselves, right? They should be autodidacts, and
yes, you work on it. They won't be able to instantly.
Yes, I'm trying to figure like how do you get them to do that? Is it because you're an autodidact yourself that you kind of just take your habits and they should rub off on the children? Or
suppose I'm the homeschooling parent and you're the homeschooling student. I'm going to sit at the table with you and put 30 Saxon math problems in front of you and say, here you go, do these 30 Saxon math problems. And when you're done, you can go play. And if you get stuck, I'll help you. And if you don't get stuck, I'll just sit there, and I'll work on my own math problems. And then and the next day, rinse, repeat, 6 days a week, half hour to an hour, and eventually you'll reach a degree of intellectual maturity that you'll barely need any help. And I would recommend the Saxon Math, and I would recommend the Art of Problem Solving. Go to artofproblemsolving.com.
Saxon? How do you spell that?
Saxon, Saxon.
Okay, Saxon Math?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll pull it up. I see it here.
Yep. And then Art of Problem Solving. It's Saxon Math for the lower levels.
The Art of
for the younger kids.
And this is these are both for math.
Yes.
Okay.
And then artofproblemsolving.com. And that starts at pre-algebra and goes through calculus.
Okay.
And Art Robinson's kids finished calculus by the time they were 16. So because they were self-teaching. So if you train your kids to self-teach, don't be surprised if they finish calculus before they go to college.
So it's pretty much about, getting them a set of problems, and then having them do them for about a certain period of time, but it's the repetition over and over again that makes the math secondary nature. Right.
The trick with math is you do problems and then you sleep. And the next day you do problems again and then you sleep. The frequency is what's really important, because when you sleep at night after you did math problems, your brain is doing those math problems overnight. And if you got stuck on something, you didn't know how to do it, and you racked your brain over it, no big deal. That night you'll figure it out in your dreams, and the next day you'll do it. So frequency, 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year. That's really important. Consistency.
Right. So the resources you just gave us, Saxon Math and Art of Problem Solving, would be the learning material for the students to understand how to complete these things?
Yes. Yes. Okay. And YouTube. And I mean, I can work with you over, email. You take a picture of the problem you're having difficulty with and email it to me, and I'll work it out and I'll send it back to you. No big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at the AOPS artofproblemsolving.com website now.
That's a great website.
Yeah.
Great. Really.
You're right, man. Because I was good at math in high school. Like, it just came really easy to me. And then now it's just like I just suck at math. But I think it's because you're just out of practice, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I think I went up to calc in high school. Yeah, I think we did calc in high school. Definitely wasn't finished calc by 16. Definitely not. Maybe some of the other students. But that's cool. So you think you went straight to math first? You think math is probably
the most important thing? And I want to list off the benefits.
Okay.
For your kids of studying math.
Okay.
They'll be able to easily learn any complex or technical material that makes other people's eyes glaze over. So if they get a job and they're like, "Here, learn this technical manual," they'll be able to do it. Math exercises your decision-making faculty in your mind. So someone who's put in a couple thousand hours in math will be less likely to get killed in a car accident or any other kind of Darwin Award type accident. They'll just, because they'll be better at making decisions. They'll say, that's going to get me killed. I'm not going to do that. And they'll make more money. And if you're an adult and you want to make more money between now and the rest of your life, study math for a half hour to an hour a day, and you'll make more money, and you'll waste less money. Your kids who study math, they'll choose a better spouse, and they'll be more rational in relating to their spouse. Although I would recommend also studying emotional intelligence. What was that? There's a great book out there, How to Have Impossible Conversations. And especially girls should do math as well, because it'll make them, women are a little bit less rational, a little more emotional. And I've seen girls that studied math and they were more rational. They have more of a guy brain, more of a manly brain. And so they they were still perfectly feminine, but they made better decisions about their life. They chose better boyfriends. So that's why you should teach math to your daughter too. She'll choose better boyfriends.
Teach your daughter math so she'll choose a better boyfriend.
That's a hot take, huh?
That's a hot take right there. I like
glad
that.
you like that one.
I like that.
And, they'll get more out of anything they study, whether it's history, economics. They'll have a longer attention span. They'll just be better at thinking. So that's why you should study math and teach your kids math.
Okay. Chad Lemoyne, what up, Chad? He says, God bless this channel for conversations like this. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Hope everything's going well with you over there. Congratulations on a house sale once again. All right. So what about reading and writing and literature and all of that good stuff?
Yeah, that will, like it said, if you strengthen your brain with math, that stuff will come pretty easy.
Okay.
And you don't have to worry about too much as long as they read, plenty of good literature, the Encyclopedia Britannica, histories, well-written literature, Charles Dickens, Joseph Conrad, Emily Bronte, just not the dry stuff though. Get Dostoevsky in translation, Tolstoy. That will teach you grammar just from reading. You don't have to learn how to diagram a sentence. If you read a lot of well-written stuff, then you will write well. And you should practice writing too. But you'll know how to spell, you'll know how to use grammar if you read a lot. And if you don't read a lot, if you don't read, then you'll write like a 5-year-old. I've seen that too in adults. It's because they never read any books.
Yeah. I my life revolves around reading and writing. I write every single day, with the newsletter and the books I'm putting out. And I think I could attribute a lot of my success to Orwell. Orwell was one of those masters of writing, and after I finished 1984, An Animal Farm, more in 1984, outside of the conspiratorial socialism, communism stuff, just how he writes, the words that he chooses, I paid a real keen attention to. Yep. So you're right. You definitely, reading definitely is going to make you a better writer. And I think, people have to read. Last week I was talking to Kaba Kamene. He's a retired teacher, and he was talking about reading, and he was saying how important it was for, young children to have their parents read to them, before even trying to attempt to read themselves. Have a lot of, people reading to you, so you kind of get those words in your head and how those things are pronounced. You agree with that, or any?
Well, I think that if it was up to me, honestly, I would provide a stipend for both parents, mom and dad, to stay home with the kids. And the more time you spend with your kids, the better they're going to come out. There's a book called The Collapse of Parenting. And it says that the reason kids are so messed up is because they're peer oriented. They get raised by their friends, and their friends get raised by their friends. And these kids come from broken homes. They watch a lot of TV. So even kids from a good home get corrupted by kids from a bad home. So the parents really gotta be the biggest thing in your kid's life. Don't let your kids become peer oriented. Don't let them, become all about their friends. Keep them close to you until they're like 18 years old, and then say, fine, turn their life over to them. But as long as you keep them tight to you through their adolescence, then they should come out okay. But if you let them, if they just become all about their friends, they're going to be messed up, at least for a while. They may pull out of it, they may not.
Yeah, absolutely. My mind's kind of going back to the previous topic of math. Are there any because math today sucks the way it's being taught,
it's terrible.
Yeah. So is there any math shortcuts or tricks that you teach, or you pretty much just rely on the curriculum from those websites you showed me?
It's just practice.
Okay.
Practice it. It's just workout problems.
But you don't want to practice poor methodology, right? You want to practice.
The books will guide you.
The ones that you referred us to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all quite. I don't know that there's a specific methodology. I mean, you try to. You'll come up with the methodology just from working out the problems. You'll
Right.
figure it out on your own.
For example, like I know in school they taught us to add and subtract from right to left, but I do it from left to right. Based upon what program did I take? I took a program when I was younger. Man, it was like these cassette tapes that you got mailed to your house. I think it was where there's a will, there's an A. You remember that?
I heard that phrase. There's books on math shortcuts, like multiplication shortcuts. They're pretty interesting, and then probably good to get kids doing just for the fun of it. I mean, it's not really necessary, but it's certainly useful.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it now. Oh no.
You know what's great is number theory. The Art of Problem Solving has a book on beginning number theory.
Okay.
And that's like finding about prime numbers and how many factors will be in some huge number.
Right.
I'm having a lot of fun with it right now. That's the book I'm working on right now.
Okay. But you never heard about that, doing math from left to right?
Nope, I've always done right to left. How do you carry over when you have, when the sum of of a column is more than 10?
You carry it over the same exact way. So let's say it's like 900 plus 900, or now I guess a better way to do this would be like, 520 plus 580, right? So the 10 would come down off the 5 and the 5. The next one would be would be a 10. So you put the 1 in that column. you add the 1 to that left column and keep adding to the right.
Right. So then you got to go back to your hundreds column. You got to go back.
Yeah, I do that all at the same time.
Do you? Okay.
And I do it in my head, because they were teaching you how to do these problems fast, but in your head, and they were doing it left to right. I forget the name of that program. I want to say it's where there's a will, there's an A. This is old though. This is going back to like 90s, I want to say.
Yep. I'm so old. They taught me cursive in 3rd grade.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, you learned cursive? You must be ancient.
I was born in 1980.
Okay. Wow. So the degeneracy wasn't that bad. Yeah, I guess in the 80s it was still okay.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It
really kicked in hard in the between 2010 and 2020. But we always say, this generation, when you always say, oh, these kids are much worse than we were, and it's always true. But I mean, I read books and people in the 1800s saying, oh, kids these days, they're degenerates.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that depends on where you go to school and your upbringing, because I feel that a lot of the education needs to happen at home. I don't rely on the school to educate my kids. I rely on me and myself to educate my kids. So if my kids aren't educated, I don't blame the school. I blame myself.
Absolutely. And do you train your kids in athletics?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to you before the thing, weckmethod.com, WECK method.com, David Weck.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't recommend having your kids lift weights, but everything the Weck method teaches is safe for kids to do, and it'll make them better athletes. And the other thing, if you want your kid to come out okay, focus on making him strong, even if he doesn't like it, even if he doesn't want to go to jujitsu, force him to go, because then one day, he's going to be going along and some bully's going to come after him and he's going to beat up the bully. And then he's going to say, thank God Dad made me go to jujitsu.
Yeah, I think I'm working on a book now, What Makes a Man. It's not the title. It's just kind of like the thesis of it. But I think that's definitely a strong part of it is, self-defense. I write this in my book on masculinity, the unbreakable rules of masculinity. And I say, if a man's never been punched in the face, he ain't even a man yet.
I was punched in the face a lot.
Yeah, back in my day, we didn't have PlayStation. We had Nintendo, but the games were, we fought. That's what we did for fun back in the day. You fought. You had to. That's what happened in school, man. You get in the fist fights.
Yeah.
You get bored before school. There was no phones, like now kids are just like all on their phones with their heads down before school. Before school, we, half hour before school, 15 minutes before school, you playing wall ball outside. It might get a little heated and now you got to fight, and you kind of get yourself off and go into school, act like nothing happened. But these kids, I don't think they got that experience now.
Now, at my school, they would organize a fight at the baseball field out behind the factory. And all day it was like when someone's going to get executed at dawn, and they're up all night thinking I had a lot of school days like that. Like, at 3:00 today out of the baseball field, I'm going to get like physically like humiliated and experienced horrible pain. And, it was like going to my execution.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably made me stronger, but I think it also made me socially awkward.
So you were a public school kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And it trained anti-intellectuals, and being smart wasn't cool.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And that's why Americans are so dumbed down. Because the girls don't go for the smart guys, they go for the bad boys. And that's a very strong incentive to be a bad boy instead of, a hardworking schlub, smart guy.
Yeah. I never had no problems in the ladies department. The ladies department was my problem.
Yeah.
But you're right.
If it's too easy, then you don't strive in it. Like pretty girls get everything too easy, and so they don't strive hard enough. And then all of a sudden their looks go away and they're like, uh-oh, what do I have left? Right. Whereas a guy who, couldn't get chicks, he's done nothing but strive. And so when he's 40 years old, he has a lot to fall back on.
Yeah. I think the reward system is messed up, especially with little girls. I'm glad you brought that up, because the reward system we teach little girls early on is, oh, wow, you look so cute. Look at your shoes, look at your hair. Oh, you look so cute. Oh, you're so cute. Which at a young age is telling this child, well, if I want to succeed in this world, or I want positive feedback from people, it's all about my physical appearance. Whereas her mind starts to shift and focus on that all the time, as opposed to, oh, wow, she's so smart. Look at these math problems she's doing, right? These reward systems. I think we have to be careful with those reward systems. And I think that's why there's an intelligence gap between men and women. I don't think it's a natural thing. I think it's a environmentally caused thing. When we tell little girls all their worth is their body.
Right. Yeah, that's terrible. I never did that. I was always like, here's piano, here's gymnastics, here's soccer league. And interesting to teach her about like the way boys are. I got a CD by a band called Hole. Remember Hole with Courtney Love?
Nope.
Okay. Well, there's a song called Violet, and the chorus is, when they get what they want, then they never want it again. And it's basically, don't be a slut. And much better than I could, just command her. And we would play that song and play the other songs. But years later, she said that was the best thing for me. That playing that album for me, because I saw it happen in real life to my friends. And fortunately, it didn't happen to me because I knew better. Because my father got that CD and played it for me in the car. So the album is Live Through This, and the song is called Violet, like the color violet.
Okay. You heard that, fathers? You got to play that for your daughter so she won't
Yeah,
turn out to be an E girl.
right.
That's my worst nightmare, man. My daughter grows up to be an E girl. We're such in
Well,
a
teach her
dangerous,
math and she'll be fine.
you know, we're in a dangerous world right now because like what do you tell a woman who can leave high school and make six figures working 3 to 4 hours a night as a bartender?
My daughter's a bartender
What kind of bartender?
at a fancy joint.
Okay, see, that's a little bit. All right, I should say star tender. Out here in New York, we got star tenders, and these are the girls that wearing the booty shorts.
Oh yeah, no, she doesn't do that.
That's the type of bartender I'm talking about. And I mean, these women are coming home with, I'm not talking about low six figures, I'm talking about high six figures, $250,000 a year off of working 3 to 4 hours a day. They're driving Ferraris, they're driving Bentleys, and they're making just as much as the strippers, sometimes more. And the strippers are actually getting upset about it. But yeah, that star tender life, like what do you say to a girl who can walk into an establishment, work a few hours? And you got to remember too, when you're young, you kind of like want a party. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yep.
what you do when you're young. So you get paid six figures to party and meet guys and meet hot guys and meet rich guys, and guys that are just throwing money at you. It's kind of like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
raised
like,
my daughter speaking Russian in the household, so the Russian speaking high rollers come to her bar to meet the American girl that speaks Russian.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, for a lot of fathers out there, like I don't have to worry about my daughter because just how she is. She doesn't even want to leave the house, let alone work.
Oh, that's a problem with the other kind.
What's that?
You got to get her interested in something like art or piano lessons or something, dance. Just have her do anything but TV, anything but screen time.
Yeah, I know. And that's been a huge problem over here because she's good at so much. She's a chemistry type person. So she has a chemistry set. So she understands chemistry a lot better than I do.
That's great.
So she spends her time with her chemistry set. So she has like those things, but she's still a girly girl where like she doesn't want to like get her nails messed up, and she like if I told her, I was like, do you think you'd want to get a job? She's like, a job for what? And I'm like, you might want to get a job just to see what it's like. That like I kind of at first I said I don't want my daughter to have a job, but now I'm like I kind of just want her to like go get a job just to see what life is like for other people, like that grounded experience.
How old is she?
She's 16.
It's hard to get a job. I mean, my daughter wasn't able to get a job until she was like 17. It's because they don't have jobs for kids anymore. They give all those jobs to immigrants now.
Yeah. Back in my day, the 90s, late 90s, I could quit my job today and be hired today at some other place.
Yep.
Today it ain't like that.
Now they have grateful Guatemalans working for them.
Yeah. So people will say you're being xenophobic. What do you say to that?
I don't care. I take my own side.
What about legal immigrants? How do you feel about legal immigration?
That's a law. It could be changed. We need to take care of our own people. All right. So the pull of immigration, I understand why, because they wrecked the Americans. They dumbed down Americans, made the kids lazy and stupid. And they're like, well, kids are lazy and stupid. Now we got to bring in immigrants. It's like, no. You liberals destroyed the kids. And now you're putting insult on top of injury by bringing in immigrants to replace them. I blame the liberals for dumbing down the kids so much. The teachers' unions are all liberals, just babysitting, doing a crappy job, and getting a pretty nice salary and a pension and benefits, The public education system is not for the kids, it's for the teachers and the administrators. It's completely corrupt. We should just go to homeschooling and just get rid of the schools.
Wait, you said the public system is for who?
The public school system is for the benefit of the teachers and the administrators, not the kids.
How so?
Because the kids ain't learning shit. And the teachers and the administrators get plenty of money. They get paid really well to the kids aren't learning anything. They're just like, oh, well, this is what it is. They're just time serving.
What do you think about that no kid left back thing?
It's all just money wasting garbage. We should just abolish all public schools. If you want to learn, just go learn. We got video conferencing. I'll give you a list of, there's lists of books on the internet. There's people that would teach you on video, like we're doing. You could learn like this. You don't need any school buses. You don't need any buildings. We have video conferencing. And if you don't want to learn, don't learn. Go play. Go work.
So what does a society look like where school is not mandatory? Do you think people will go learn?
Sure. It'll be more valued because, if you don't, then, you'll just do manual labor, but at least you'll do manual labor instead of, Jose from Guatemala.
Get rid of public schools.
Absolutely.
And then
education will be valued.
So education will be run by the private sector.
Yeah. Parents and then, coaches who teach parents to be homeschoolers or video conferencing. I could train kids to teach themselves over just like this video conferencing.
Okay.
And actually
that would be a paid service, right?
I'm sure some people would do it for free or cheap, or you could raise money. I don't think money would be the issue.
Okay.
Because you could have several kids at once, and because you're training them to teach themselves, you don't need so many teachers. I mean, we have way more teachers than we need. The printing press was invented 600 years ago, and we have way more teachers than we need, considering that there's books and there's the internet. Even like chemistry lab. There's a book out there, how to do chemistry lab just with household chemicals, totally safe.
Do you think there's a conspiracy surrounding the public education system to dumb down?
Yes. There's a lady who worked in the Department of Education under Ronald Reagan. Her name was Charlotte Iserbyt, Isserbyt. And she wrote a book called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. Look it up. You can find it for free on PDF. She passed away a while ago. She was pretty old as it was, but she's on YouTube. There's videos on YouTube of her giving talks. So yeah, I mean, isn't it obvious that they've dumbed us down on purpose?
Who do you think did that?
The ruling elites, whoever they may be.
J.D. Rockefeller and his takeover of the public school board of education, federal board of education.
Yeah, and you know what though? The liberals are going along with it. They're most of them aren't protesting. They're collecting their paychecks, and they're just letting it happen. They're just saying, hey, I'm getting paid. I'm getting mine. I don't care.
Well, China's kicking everybody's ass as far as education is concerned. A lot of countries are kicking the United States ass. Wouldn't it be in the best interest of the ruling elite to have a public that's educated?
That's a great point. And so I think they're afraid of the American domestic population, but they also might need the military. So I think that they're coming to a point where the dumbing down of America is a national security issue. And believe it or not, in 1996, I was in the Army Reserves, military intelligence, and I was living in a boarding house in Arlington, Mass, with some Chinese nationals. One was a head of artificial intelligence at MIT, and one of them was a Harvard physicist. And they both warned me that all the cutting edge military research was being done by foreigners, and this is probably a national security threat. And it just so happened I went to drill, and we were having a Saida briefing, subversion and espionage directed against the U.S. Army. And it was some warrant officer from the Pentagon. And I raised my hand and I said, I know of a national security threat. And he asked me what it is. And I said, it's all, our cutting edge military technology is all being developed by foreigners, by Chinese, and they're stealing that technology. I live in a boarding house with 2 Chinese nationals, and they told me. And he went back and he took it, and he actually had to, and everyone laughed at me. But he had to have a meeting with Les Aspin, who was the defense secretary at the time under Clinton. And the next year he came back and I asked him, and he said, yeah, we had a meeting. And they said that, the risk was worth it. But now, if you look at what's happened in, the public doesn't hear about this, but the Chinese stole the whole U.S. naval underwater warfare library. And there was naval weapons that were planned for 20 years from now, and the Chinese got it. So they did get our Miltech. The thing I warned about was absolutely true. And if you talk to a military recruiter sometime, next time you see a military recruiter, ask them, how is it? Or you can look up on YouTube. They say that so many kids are not eligible for military service because they're addicted to drugs, they're obese, tattoos, they've had to lower standards, the kids are dumbed down, they desperately need immigrants to do their stuff, but at the same time those immigrants might have other loyalties, especially like the Chinese, the Russians. You get this smart Chinese physicist who helps you with your weapon systems, but your future Chinese enemy might be getting that same weapon system, all the secrets, they might know everything. Supposedly the Chinese have a back door into every computer chip on every military ship and plane and everything, and they can just shut down the whole military. I read that years ago. But I mean, that's what they get for dumbing down Americans. Maybe they'll lose a war, and that'll teach them, huh? Dumbing us down. I'm very angry about that, and I think it was a crime what they've done to us.
I think it was Harvard Chinese student. Yeah, Harvard Chinese spy. Harvard professor's arrest shows Chinese spying via U.S. Top Harvard professor arrested for lying to feds. Is this it?
Yeah, for the record, I don't have anything against Chinese people.
Right.
What I have everything against is the American ruling elites who dumbed us down and replaced us.
Yeah, it says here, top Harvard professor arrested for lying to feds about involvement in Chinese spy program. This was January 28th of this year. And apparently some sort of intelligence was getting leaked to China.
Well, the CIA had a Chinese national, or ethnic Chinese at least, and he did an Aldrich Ames. Back in the late 1980s, Aldrich Ames gave to the Russians the names of every single Russian who was betraying his country and selling secrets to the Americans, and they all got executed. And watch them. And there's a couple of movies, like dramatizations of the Aldrich Ames case on YouTube. Pretty interesting. You should watch them. It's very fascinating what happened. But anyways, there was an ethnic Chinese man who was in the CIA, and he did the same thing. He gave the Chinese government the identities of every single Chinese person who was selling secrets to America, and all of them got executed.
Some deep stuff going on in this world, man.
Mm-hmm. And they hide it from the American public. So much stuff is happening that most people don't hear about.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, don't I know, especially here on this channel, man. We have a show called HOTEPS Been Told You, which just goes back to the fact that there's a whole lot of things we've been telling the public that they finally realize, usually when it's too late. But the public is so behind on information, which is one of the main reasons why I do this show, and I bring people like you on to kind of get people advance notice on certain things and be ahead of the curve of the rest of Americans. I mean, it's not hard to be ahead of the American curve.
No.
Because everybody's so far behind.
Right. If you don't do screen time, if you don't watch movies and play video games and follow pro sports, and instead you do real stuff, you'll be way ahead of the curve. As time goes by, it just builds up.
Yeah.
You look back in your life and be like, wow, I'm able to do all these things. I know all these things. It's amazing.
Yeah. I remember early 2000s, I want to say. My parents left. I was all on my own. And I was staying at my homeboy's house on his couch. And I was reading certain books. He was reading Harry Potter.
Yep. Well, at least he was doing that instead of consuming screen time.
Well, that's what he was doing mostly, was screen time. He was a big PlayStation guy, video game guy. He was real heavy into that stuff, real heavy into the fantasy and the comics and the movies and all of that stuff, real heavy into that stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't own a PlayStation or anything like that back then. We played on his. And I remember him saying to me one day, he said, you keep reading them books, but they not. He said, you keep reading them self-help books, but they ain't gonna help you none. And
yeah, they did.
And then today I can go to a restaurant. He's still doing the same job he had, back then when I was on his couch, and he's still living that same lifestyle. It's just like, maybe you shouldn't have been reading Harry Potter. You should have been reading the books I was reading.
Yeah,
but you're right. That screen time is everything, man. My kids, before they get any screen time with any device, they got a certain amount of tests they have to pass. So, right now they have a physical test, and the test has to be witnessed. But one creative thing I added, they play soccer. So, in soccer, you juggle the ball. So, I said, you'll get a screen time pass for a week, if you're able to perform this drill. So the first week it was 10. They're up to 30 now, so they can juggle the ball 30 times right inside the crib and have no problems at all.
That's really good.
Yeah, but before you have to earn your screen time. Whereas I think a lot of parents, they reverse it, right? Where it's like, oh, you didn't do your work, let me take it away. And it's just like, no, they shouldn't have had it in the first place. They have to earn it. So they have to do we're up to 60 push-ups.
That's pretty good.
In front of my face. So it's like certain things they got to do before they get their privileges.
Well, check out WEC method. That's have you do a better push-up off of opposed to elite. It's okay. Run faster, jump higher. It's really more coordination. It's really great. But I'm hardcore. I wouldn't want them to see screen time as like a reward. That's like the fun thing. That's the thing you strive for. I would rather that they just like learn to play soccer well as its own reward. Yeah.
I wish that was possible.
Yeah.
My son, he's an avid video game player. I was too when I was a kid. I loved the video game. But he plays the Call of Duty and the Fortnite, and he's actually really like good at it. So I let him get his screen time, and I feel like a lot of that stuff is healthy. You don't think the video game is healthy?
No,
I disagree.
That's okay. Well, that's fine. We can agree to disagree.
Let's have a quick debate on it. Why do you think it's not?
Because they should be doing 3-dimensional things that require fine motor skills, like building model airplanes, like the Guillos.com, Guill, like putting together a model airplane. It takes coordination, fine motor skills, right? And you have to be able to handle frustration. You have to learn patience. So, I don't really think that video games train. I ain't judging you as a parent. It's fine. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But, I raised my daughter with almost no screen time. She would watch a movie with my wife and I on Friday night and Saturday night, and that was it. Some boy in her school when she was about 9 years old gave her one of those handheld Nintendo things, and I made her give it back. But I'm an extremist in that sense. I understand that.
Yeah. You right though, man. I mean, I came up like that with, the model airplanes.
Oh, did you make model airplanes? Yeah.
Yeah, my dad he's still big into that stuff. That's like what they did back in his day, he used to tell me stories about how they made their toys. You didn't buy toys, you made your toy.
Right.
You wanted
and
to
knitting. Knitting is really good too.
Okay, knitting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knitting and crochet gives you fine motor skills, teaches you patience.
Yeah. My daughter does that.
Good.
But yeah, my dad would say, if you wanted a new car to play with, a toy car or a toy truck, you had to make it. You get some bottle caps, you get, a piece of stick to be the axle, the bottle caps, the wheel. You'll find you a cardboard box, and then cut it up a certain way to make your style. He's right, and I was
much more satisfying than playing a video game.
Absolutely, I look at my dad like Superman because some of the things he does just reminds me of MacGyver, but I think it's because of the lack of screen time he had back in his day.
Right.
You had, like you said, you had to have those fine motor skills to be able to do certain things. And I remember him, we put together the PT 109 Cruiser from JFK days. You gotta paint those little men with the little fine brush, and you got to get the decal on there just right. And if it wasn't on there just right, you had to get some the hair dryer to soften up the glue, and then peel it off and put it back on there.
And get dizzy from the glue.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. Like back in my day, I did do a good amount of that.
You control the environment. Don't bring the devil into your house. You're the boss. The Nintendo Corporation is not the boss of your family. You are.
Yeah, true. I feel like there's got to be a balance, though, right? There's got to be a balance because.
So, like, how many cigarettes a day would you give to a toddler?
It depends.
How many Budweisers would you give a toddler?
If we lived in a world that was full of alcohol and drugs, I'd probably want to introduce it to them.
You're supposed to say none.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, like, we have to look at this as organisms, right? Like, as organisms in a petri dish. If an organism is going to adapt to an environment, or you have to prepare an organism for its environment, you have to introduce certain things to it, just like they try to do with these vaccines, right? Your child has to be exposed to the cold so he doesn't die from the cold when he gets older. So
I can answer that. I can.
Okay.
All right. So what happens is if you don't develop a taste for it when you're young, like if you give a kid candy all the time, sugar, when he's young, then he'll always crave sugar his whole life.
Right.
Doesn't eat a lot of sugary food when he's young. When he gets older, he'll have a more adult palate, and he won't be like, oh boy, I can't wait to have another candy bar. I can't wait to drink another Pepsi. If you acclimate a child to playing video games when he's 4 years old so that he doesn't bother you, then 30 years later when he's 34, he'll still be sitting in your living room playing video games, and you're like, why don't you go get a job? You're 34.
Yeah.
So it's all what you acclimate them to when they're young, and then when they're 18 and they could go play all the video games. So if they grow up without video games, say they like my daughter could go play video games 24 hours a day if she wanted to. And she plays video games 0 hours a day. It's like has no interest to her because she wasn't acclimated to it when she was young.
Right. Well, the Japanese and the Chinese play a whole lot of video games, and they're still successful. They invent the China. They revolutionized the whole industry of video gaming. I mean, we're talking about math geniuses that'll kick your ass at Street Fighter.
So, all right. When I was at University of Connecticut in 2011, 2012, 2013. And I talked to the engineers from India, and not China so much. The Chinese kids were very sharp.
Yeah.
But the ones from India, they would study engineering, and I mean, they would cheat when they could. They would use their iPhone to cheat, and they would get the test. So they didn't like math. Math was the necessary evil that they would do, and then they would go play video games. They were video game addicts.
Okay.
But it's better if if math isn't the necessary evil, if it's something, that you kind of enjoy doing. And that's certainly possible. And, and you'll do much better if you kind of like doing it. And then what else do you do in your free time? You go for a walk, you exercise, you socialize with people, and that'll, and that won't take away from, your studies. But playing video games definitely parasites off how good you're going to be in math. And they definitely had a problem with it. They played video games way too much, and then they would have to study for a test, and they would have to cram, and they would struggle, and their life sucked. Their life sucked because they were addicted to video games.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think this has to be a balance, right? I think if you're one of those people who's addicted to it, then like there's a serious problem there. But I feel like because we're in this digital world where AI and everything is going to be apparent, the video game, my kid is going to have an advantage over your kid because your kid doesn't even know how to turn these devices on.
I don't think that's a disadvantage, honestly. I mean, you could learn quick. Like I could probably snort heroin once in a while without getting addicted to it, but I still don't snort heroin.
I think we'd have to look at the greater goal in life, right? So the greater goal would be, I think you're going down the more independent homesteading type thing where we don't really want to integrate with this debauched Western civilization.
No, I do believe that we should engage in urban life. I do, but not in video games. So my ideal society, if I had the money, we would have a farmhouse in the country and an apartment building in the city. And during the week, the homeschooling kids are in the city and they go to ballet lessons, they go to piano lessons, they go to martial arts classes, they go to art classes, they go to, and in the weekend they go in the countryside and they go fishing and work in the garden and run around the woods. But I think they can have a perfectly complete life without screen time. But I mean, it's good we're having this debate.
I think, I agree. I totally agree. I don't think screen time is necessary. But I think that there are disadvantages and advantages to not being accustomed to the screen and being accustomed to the screen. Just because we're in this digital world where everything is going to be controlled by some sort of piece of software.
Well, I definitely believe in learning how to program.
If
that's part of your job, interacting with software and testing it, like testing your AI alarm system. Sure, of course.
Yeah.
I'm studying electronic engineering, and I'm planning to go back to UConn for electrical engineering and robotics and automation. So I find we have a similar interest in that, in AI and stuff.
Yeah, I think you should check out some of the studies they've done on people who play video games and how it helps them in some areas of their life.
Well, I know it helps you, like if you're a fighter pilot, your reactions are better.
Yeah, your reaction time is like spiked.
But I think the cost, of and that's just like immediate reactions. If you make bad decisions, if it's a choice of, I would rather have a pilot who was a mathematician than a pilot who was a gamer, because the mathematician pilot is going to make better decisions about, do I have enough fuel to make it to the airport? Should I fly into that storm? Whereas the gamer is just gonna be like, let's go in the storm and, test my reactions.
Yeah, I could dig it, man.
And I bet you if you did a study on pilots who've crashed, the ones who studied math, crashed a lot less. And if I was the CEO of American Airlines, I would require my pilots to always be taking a math or a physics class.
Yeah.
And I would pay them for it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, though. As far as the screen time is concerned, I think these devices are evil, man. Like I really do believe that
on children. If an adult, if an adult takes up video games, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm only concerned that we don't put that on kids. You know, if you're over 18 years old and you want to play World of Warcraft all day, that's your business. But I think, you know, because you can smoke cigarettes, you can drink alcohol, whatever. You can play video games. But for at the impressionable ages, no. I see video games like it would be like giving them as far as I'm concerned, it'd be like giving them a Marlboro and a Budweiser.
Because they rig them to be addictive.
Right.
Yeah, we literally design software because, you know, I'm in software. So I don't think none of our apps do it. None of my personal apps do it, but I've worked at companies where the whole idea, especially the social networking stuff, was, you know, how do we make this thing more addicting? You know,
Right.
how do we? Yeah, I used to call them. I call them dope hits. You know, like what dope hits does your software deploy, and that make people feel good. And the more dope hits you got, you know, probably the more success you'll have with your app. And I notice a lot of apps lack dope hits, especially some of the newer ones. But yeah, the software is definitely designed to get you addicted, especially in the video games as well. The sounds.
On the other hand, building a model airplane or knitting, you get dope hits, but you earn them.
Yeah.
So they're much healthier dope hits.
Mm-hmm.
But you do. I mean, when I solve a math problem, I get a rush out of that. I'm like, yeah. And for the rest of the day, I make better decisions.
Yeah.
So you train your kids in activities where they earn their dope hits, not where they get them for free.
I think, you know, what you're talking about is foundational. If we built a society as you propose as the foundation, I think the society as a whole would be better off.
Thank you. That's a very high compliment.
I definitely believe that, because your aspirations, what you find entertaining, what a society finds entertaining says everything about that society.
Yep.
Says everything about that society. You know, show me your form of entertainment and I'll show you how ignorant your society is.
When the Vandals were climbing the walls of Rome, they could hear the Romans cheering on the chariot races. And then they came in and slaughtered them.
Yeah, I like that. I like that story.
And you know, there's a book I got to recommend called The Secret World by Christopher Andrew. I've only read, you know, the first couple of chapters, but in way back, like in the Old Testament, Hebrews, they used modern intelligence techniques, but then the Romans and Greeks forgot that stuff, and they used superstitious. They looked at bird guts to decide whether or not they should go into battle tomorrow. But then there was one Roman general who used modern intelligence techniques. He had scouts. He had 3 levels of scouts: short range, mid range, long range. He did interrogation. He would capture enemy soldiers and interrogate them and analyze the intelligence. And he would write his correspondence in cipher. And you know the name of this Roman general, Julius Caesar. He was very successful as a general because he used modern intelligence, but it gets forgotten. And then George Washington was really good at intelligence, but then 100 years later, America completely forgot it. And we were way behind. The people who are best at intelligence are the Brits, because they have MI6, but that goes way back. The first modern intelligence agency was Queen Elizabeth's first secretary, and his whole job was to prevent her from getting assassinated. And I know it's a little bit off topic, but my point is that people can forget, and what I'm telling you is to remember.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. People, you know, these kids are relying upon technology to do their math homework.
Right. All of us are forgetting.
Yeah. Remember when we had to remember phone numbers And
Well,
now
I'm
you don't.
talking about like the big picture stuff, you know,
Yeah.
like the ruling elite operation and dumbing us down and feeding us high fructose corn syrup. This is intelligence operations. And the way to counter it is we have to learn intelligence again. And I don't mean spying. I don't mean sending out spies or scouts or stealing. We don't have to. All the information is open source. We all the collection is right there. We don't have to do anything to collect that information. We just have to analyze it and then use the intelligence product in a way that will benefit us. But we don't have to steal any information. It's all out there.
Yeah.
So we need to do big picture intelligence now. And I mean, like homeschooling instead of public schools, good food instead of high fructose corn syrup. You know, the car system sucks. Everybody having to own a private car. Isn't that bullshit? Didn't we have mass transit?
Yeah.
I mean, Greta Thunberg, I have the solution. Mass transit. We'll use a fraction of the oil. We won't spew so much stuff, you know? So
You're like that.
yeah, I just think in terms of intelligence. Look at all the crap that they're doing to us that sucks, that makes us fat and stupid and broke. What is making us fat, stupid, and broke? And attack that.
Yeah. Fat, stupid, and broke.
Mm-hmm. And addicted.
That's a book right there. Fat, stupid, and broke.
Yeah. Well, I have a book coming out.
Okay.
And it's called The Spark of Tocqueville. And Alexis de Tocqueville noticed that in the French Revolution, that if things get a little bit better, like a catalyst, like you introduce a catalyst into a chemical reaction, and then the chemical reaction takes off, like a spark sets off a fire, right? So if things are really bad, and then you make things a little bit better, then people go nuts and they want to make it a lot better. And I bet maybe in your life that happened where you did something and you got a little reward for it, and you're like, oh, now I want more. I want everything. You know, when I've successfully passed a calculus 1 class, I was like, I can do this. I want to be an engineer now. I want to learn all math. You know, so the point of my book is that if you can improve things a little bit for yourself and for those around you, then they're going to demand much more improvement. So if you got someone who's laying around and their life isn't that good, if you can get them to improve things just a little bit, just that spark, that catalyst, then they'll be hungry for more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I try to be that person in people's lives, and
Yeah, you do.
And I find people who are motivated, and I kind of borrow off of their energy by spending time around them or calling them up. Like my homegirl Tori Nix, sometimes we'll have these 6-hour conversations. I call her up and get a quick download, and because it's just good to be around people that are on your same level, you know,
Right.
of creationism.
But when you have your kids and stuff, if someone you love is stagnant, try to get them to improve their life just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Get them to exercise, you know, a few times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll spark them. That'll catalyze more for them. That'll spark their ambition.
Absolutely. Oh, excuse me. I got a book coming out in the future that talks about how to make your life better with kind of like that same mindset.
And it's needed. People's lives are terrible.
Real talk. That's true. That's so true, man. But I really like what you're saying about getting back to the root of intelligence.
Yeah, the big picture.
Yeah. Because it's like right now we're in the future, digital, you know, all these things happening, the screens, etc., etc. So the root, the mathematics of it all has brought us here, but the people are now missing that foundation that built it.
Yep.
So when this thing comes crumbling back down, they won't know how to rebuild it, and they'll have to start back from the Stone Age trying to rediscover math.
Joe Rogan says the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a Joe Rogan's bit that says exactly that.
Oh wow.
That
Yeah.
eventually all the smart people are going to die off, and people are going to be like, "How do we keep the electricity going? I don't know."
How does it work? I have no idea.
Right.
Yeah. And I think if we had a society of people who were just trained on that at the very minimum, you'd have a much stronger society, and we'd be able to compete with other countries a lot easier. So, I'm totally in agreement with what you're saying there. I totally agree. I'm just a natural Libra, and whereas I always try to find balance. So, we have the foundation, but we also have the want to be on the cusp of technology and the new technology that breaks. Like, I want to know what's the new chip coming out. I want to know what's the next PlayStation coming out. I want to know
It's
the
important
next
to know that stuff.
AI bot. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because technology is running our lives right now.
Right.
Which is why I like to. And also, Eugene Schwartz says this. He says, if you want to know how to sell, go pick up the National Enquirer and read that every day. Because
Really?
yeah, he said, because if you don't know what the pleb is thinking about and how the pleb talks, how do you sell to them? You're not even speaking the same language. If you want to sell to somebody, you have to speak their language, which it gives you an air of relatability, which is some people say, oh, I'm so dynamic, and I'm like, I am, because I can go anywhere, because I can relate to almost any subject, because I pay attention to so many different things. I pay attention to this and I pay attention to that, which means you can put me in a room full of investors or you can put me in a hood. It don't matter. I'm still going to be cool, right?
Because you don't waste your time playing video games and watching pro sports.
Well, you're right. I play video games, but I haven't touched the game. It's been about a good month since I touched the game. I have these spurts where I'll get a game and I'll play hard for like a strong week, and then I won't pick it up for like 90 days because it just doesn't hold my attention.
Good.
But, it's a good escape for me. But you're absolutely right. Like, my life changed when I gave up pro sports. When I said, you know what? I'm not watching this shit anymore. Fuck these motherfuckers. Everything switched.
It's terrible. The football is terrible. The brain damage thing. They should abolish football just for the brain damage. Your brain is the most important thing you have. It's like, suppose you did a sport where it destroyed your liver. Like, suppose like competitive drinking.
Yeah.
And all these people were getting cirrhosis.
Yeah.
Like, we can't give this up.
Yeah. All right, so I got this running joke on Twitter. It says, I point out people and I say, oh, it's a grown ass man with his favorite sports team in his bio, right? So how do you feel about grown men who identify with these sports teams and like they become like part of the tribe and they live and die for these sports teams, and they say, oh, that's my team and we won today.
Yeah.
How you feel about all of that culture?
Did you see the movie Big Fan?
Probably a long time ago. I know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah.
That came out a minute ago. Who was that with Charlie Sheen?
No, it was Pete. He's got the weird name. He's the short little fat guy. Patton something or
Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt.
Okay, yeah. I see it here. Yeah. I haven't seen that one in years. Oh, this came out 2009. Yeah, this is a little bit older. I might not even have seen this. I just might know it from,
He gets beat up by a sports hero and gets brain damage and refuses to press charges or sue him. And then he goes and shoots someone with a blank gun and goes to prison. And his buddy visits him in prison, and they're looking at the next season and looking forward to getting out of prison so he can go to the game again.
Loser.
Yeah.
Shout to Chad. He said, have your boys learn how to change a tire, mow a lawn, build and repair things, become marksmen, and always make them ask their own questions to adults. Real talk. Diana Elmore $10 super chat. She says, thank you, Diana. Appreciate you. Thank you for listening in. But yeah, man, I remember back in the day, we had to mow the lawn. I told the kids, I said, it dawned on me the other day. I said, y'all never mowed the lawn before.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? I'm like, cut the grass. It's like, I know the guys come around and cut the grass for us. And I'm like, I know I used to have to do that for Nana and Pop-Pop's house. Like, cutting the grass was like a known chore. Changing a tire. Yo, I seen some people on the internet, some dudes didn't know how to change a tire.
Well, the big trick is you got to loosen up the lug nuts before you jack up the car.
Correct. And you got to tighten them after you put it back down.
Yeah, that's pretty important too.
That's probably the most important part.
Well, the thing is the mechanics who initially install your tires, they use an air compression gun. Yeah. And they tighten them up so much you can't get the damn thing off.
Right. And then you strip the lugs when you try to do it with the lug tool.
Yep.
Yeah. So, if you don't, I think the best lug tool to get out there is the Big X. Go out there and get you the Big X one.
Okay.
Because then when you put that thing in, you can kind of step on it and like jump up and down and kind of loosen it up little by little. You never want to do it like quick and jerking because you'll strip the lug.
Right.
But if you can just kind of like jump on it and just bounce up and down and it's like slowly loosen it so you don't strip the lug, it's perfect. But a lot of people forget to tighten the lugs after you put the car back down because the wheel will slide back off.
Yep.
You have to tighten it again after the car comes down. Do not forget that step because you'll be slowly but surely those lugs will just slowly work their way off.
Yeah. You can get an air, what do you call it?
Compression gun?
It doesn't use air pressure. Okay. It uses electricity, but it's still a compression drill or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it'll get the lugs off for you. Even if they're tightened on with the air gun.
My dad used to tell me when I took my car and get service, he used to tell him, don't tighten it with the air gun. Tell him tighten it by hand.
Yeah.
Whenever I got my tires done, he used to tell me to tell him that.
Definitely, in case you got to change it.
In case you got to change it, hell yeah. But that's crazy. Like men don't know how to change a tire or haven't changed a tire.
Other parents didn't teach them.
Right. And
now so many of them grow up with single moms. Dude, the single mom thing is just cancer. And I mean, that's because, girls grow up like going after bad boys. Do you ever look at the channel? What's it called? What's it? He something to do with weed, and I guess I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but he just talks about how these girls they run around with Chad, when they're young, and then when they're 35, all of a sudden, I got to settle down with somebody, and they just go find some chump that they're not attracted to, but they and they get him to marry him up, to wife him up, and then they're discontented and they're dreaming of Chad, and then they divorce the guy, after a couple of kids, and then the kids grow up with a single mom, or they just have kids. There's a reason that society shamed having children out of wedlock. There's all this propaganda saying, those poor single mommies, is the Scarlet Letter. Dude, I agree with the Scarlet Letter. We should bring that back.
What's the Scarlet Letter?
By Nathaniel Hawthorne. So a girl in colonial America in the 1600s got pregnant out of wedlock, so they made her sew an A on her dress, meaning adulteress.
Oh,
yeah. And the thing was, the reverend was the one who got her pregnant.
So you saying we should tag women that are out here being thoughts?
Yeah, something like there.
I agree. By the way,
I mean, what's going on right now isn't working, and it's unfair to the kids to grow up without a father.
Yeah.
Kids that grow up without a father are more likely to have all kinds of bad outcomes.
I think we need to
including
start.
getting murdered. You're more likely to get murdered if you're in a single mom household. There's a
Really?
TED talk about that. This woman, she's a divorce lawyer specializing in men's rights, and she talks about all those things, all the statistics, all the bad outcomes of kids in single mom households.
Wow. I know that for the Black community, the single mom thing was very much so caused by war, World War I, World War II, and Vietnam. And I think the same thing with white families. I know when the conscription came down and they wanted people to volunteer for those wars, white men were like, nah, I'm not fighting this war. And then the government had to draft them and force people. And then, now you got men going out to fight these wars and dying, leaving children at home. And I think a lot of cause is war. And I think they do that on purpose too, to kind of feminize the society.
Yeah, it's not just a Black problem anymore. It's all of us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not white, so I can't speak on white America, which is why a lot of times when I say things, I say I know in the Black community, because so I can speak on what I know.
Right.
I can surmise what's going on in the white community, but when I think about the white community, I'm like, they can't be exempt from this problem.
Now we're catching up. We're catching up.
Yeah. I know they're not exempt from this problem. But, from what I've seen, I have two homies right now, like my closest homies, who don't have a father, and their father weren't deadbeats. He died in war.
Oh, really? That's too bad. Which wars?
I don't know, but they were military guys, and they died in the military. Two Black kids, I know, and their fathers, they show me pictures. Their father in the military, and he just died because of being in the military.
That's the one class of single mom I can truly sympathize with, is widows.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no sympathy.
Right.
Because if you're a single mom, you either chose a bad boy and therefore you suck, or you drove away a good man, therefore you suck.
I love how plainly you put that. I agree, though, man. I think it's a domino effect, though, because if the mama didn't know how to pick a man, how's she gonna teach her daughter how to pick a man?
Right.
And sometimes there's that disconnect as well. I know my mom's dad died at war. He was a military guy, so her mom had to raise them because her father died at war.
Yeah.
But how do you teach something that you don't possess? You can't teach something you don't know. And so then people have to rely on their environment or TV to teach them how.
Or she gets remarried.
Right.
Because she was a traditional wife, and therefore, like, marrying a widow isn't like getting cucked. You know what I mean? As bad. I mean, you are raising someone else's kids, but I mean, she's not some slut who just went for a bad boy. She was someone who was unfortunate. Her husband got killed. My mother-in-law, her father was one of the wild children in the Soviet Union in the 1920s. They encouraged not taking care of the kids, just doing whatever, live, like, it was sort of like the hippie thing 40 years before. And so there was all these orphans. And so my mother-in-law's father was like homeless when he was 6 years old, and working along the Volga River or the Don River, I forget which one, but had a really hard life. But then he grew up, and the Soviet Union got its act together a little bit more, and he becomes a fireman. And his father writes to him. His father had kicked him out of the house when he was 6. Says, "Hey, now that you're a fireman, can you send me some money? I'm poor." And his boss says, "Yeah, send your dad money." And he's like, "Well, he kicked me out." He's like, "No, send him money." He's like, "All right." So he starts sending his father money. And then he died like in the second day of the invasion of Operation Barbarossa. And like right away got killed.
Wow.
Damn. What a life, huh?
For real.
Homeless when you're 6 and die in a war when you're 20.
Sounds like Hitler. Except Hitler didn't die. Yeah. You know, Hitler.
That era was just tragic for everyone involved.
Yeah, you know, I'm reading Mein Kampf and reading up on how Hitler grew up as a young boy. I'm like, man, that shit was rough. And that's just how it was back in those days. They didn't have the video games, so it was nothing for a boy to be working.
Right. Well, so the white nationalist movement is actually picking up quite a bit, and it has very above average intelligence guys in it who, and just about one of the famous anecdotes about Hitler is that the reason he became the Fuhrer was because he wasn't accepted into the Vienna art school in Vienna.
Yeah, that's
if he had been accepted into art school in Vienna, he would have never been there. He just would have become an artist, and there would have been no Fuhrer. And so now, I mean, the white nationalist movement is full of people who got rejected from art school. It's full of guys who wanted to be something really bad, worked really hard for it, studied really hard, and couldn't get it for whatever reason. Usually, I think for because of H-1B visas and because of dumbing us down. Yeah. But so it's full of guys who didn't get into art school, metaphorically. I mean, not just one person, but millions.
Yeah, I think Hitler still would have been Hitler, but
if he had got into art school,
yeah. But I think what made Hitler was the amount of time he had on his hands, and had he been in art school, he wouldn't have had the amount of time he had on his hands to kind of observe his environment, because he was sitting down observing a lot. He had a lot of time on his hands.
After the war, he
had a lot of time on his hands as a young boy, and had he been accepted into art school, maybe his mind would have been somewhere else, and he wouldn't have had the time to observe certain things that made him say, wow, like Austria really fell off. Because his art really wasn't for Germany. It was really the separation of Austria from Germany, and how there was a xenophobia developing between Germany and Austria, and how Austria wasn't what it once used to be.
Well, the big lesson I think from Hitler is that you can't have a single leader at the top. You always have to have a council, because he made terrible decisions, absolutely awful decisions. And everybody knew he was making awful decisions, but he was the Fuhrer, so he couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
Kind of like Trump now.
Yeah. I don't know. I can see that. I kind of like monarchies the best. I think it should be one dude.
No, there's a single point of failure, dude. You can't have a single point of failure, because then the enemy spy agency just has to compromise that one guy and they own the whole country. And that's happened again and again.
But you can compromise the council the same way.
No, because you have redundancy. One of the council guys will say, hey, there's these traitors, and kill the traitors, and have a new council.
But that's what the United States is.
Well, Trump has kind of set up a monarchy. He got rid of all the experts and just appoints people who are like friendly to him. Trump is sort of a monarch.
He's got a lot of CFR people on his staff.
Yeah, you think so? Maybe if he did, maybe he would, run it a little more competently.
I don't know. I feel like Trump's a puppet.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, the puppeteer. I feel like puppet masters are clowns. Then
I feel like the presidential spot, period, is just a spot where the puppet sits. There's no power that really sits there. Like,
probably not.
If you ever try to like really make change from that position of power, just give JFK treatment.
Right. No, you got to have a council, and you can't have your country run from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Your government has to be transparent.
I believe that the heir to the throne should be selected from childhood, from a crop of children.
Really?
Yeah, I have this theory I've been formulating and working on. One day I'm going to sit down and actually organize it all.
The Buddhists do that.
I believe you can identify personality traits.
Yes.
So I believe there's a certain personality trait that would be great to be king or dictator, because I believe in dictatorships.
And
I
what
think
would that trait be?
I don't know. That's why I said I have to sit down and like organize it. If I sat there and explained it, I'd sound stupid right now because it's just a bunch of disorganized thoughts running around in my mind.
I can give you a head start on that.
Okay.
Someone who doesn't particularly want to rule. Someone who's not eager.
That's absolutely it, because my fix for Congress was after you your term is up, you'd be forced into a monastery. Then see how many people actually want to run for office, right?
Right.
Then you kind of say, well, only benevolent people will actually want to run because they know the result after their term is over.
Yep.
And that's how you kind of like fix that problem. So I'm definitely in agreement with that. It's definitely a good trait. And I think there's a certain personality trait that says, I don't really want to rule. I kind of want to do what the right thing is.
Right.
And I think that there needs to be a council surrounding or assisting, a council of specialists assisting this dictator or whoever it is. But I think that final decision's got to come from one head. I think when you got too many cooks in the kitchen, things get messy, like Congress.
And the best businessmen are the ones who aren't greedy for money. The ones but business self-selects for the money addicts, right? But what they end up doing is they use the money that's supposed to go to make the business work for their own, for their cars, for running to the casino, for snorting coke off a hooker's tits, when you need to be maintaining your equipment with that money,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I mean, I'm sort of an accidental businessman. I did it because I wanted to keep foreigners out of it. And I'm not particularly money hungry. And that actually made me much better at it.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about miscegenation?
I'm opposed to it.
Okay. So if your daughter came home with a black man, what would you do?
I would be, well, there's not much I could do.
Would you disown her?
Out of it.
Would you disown her?
It's hard to say.
There's a lot of cultures out here that I know. Some Chinese, families are like that. Some Indian families are like that.
How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I'm in the middle somewhere.
Have you seen the video with Muhammad Ali?
Saying bluebirds belong with bluebirds and
right.
robins belong with robins.
Right.
So I think there's two ways to look at it. You got to look at it micro, you got to look at it macro. Right. So on a micro level, do I think that it can happen and I think it can be beautiful? Yes. I think on a micro level, every once in a while, a black person and a white person can come together and can be beautiful. At the macro level, I'm like, I don't know if I like it too much. Right?
Well, mixed race people can't get bone marrow transplants.
Really?
Correct. Because they're too genetically unique.
So, oh, wow. So you would need somebody that's mixed to donate bone marrow, or that wouldn't work either?
They're just too randomized.
Wow.
Yeah.
What type of people usually need bone marrow?
People who have leukemia.
What type of people get leukemia?
Anybody can get leukemia. Cancer of the blood.
Trying to figure out who it affects most.
Look up Humans of New York on YouTube. There's a girl. She's biracial, and she says she wishes she was just one race. She doesn't care which one. She just wishes it was just one.
She feels confused.
She said everyone's like, "Oh, you're so unique. It's great." And she's like, "No, it's not great. It sucks." But I mean, you're not giving the kid the choice to be monoracial. Like it's like circumcision. I'm opposed to circumcising infants. You're not giving that kid a choice to cut his dick, right? You're not giving a choice. Maybe the kid would want to be, one race, but you're not giving him the choice. You're saying, nope, I'm deciding that you're going to be biracial or multiracial, and the kid's stuck with that for his whole life. Just because the Jewish TV told her it was fashionable You know, they're not like bell bottoms. You can't put your mixed race kid in the attic when it's out of fashion.
So why is it important for you to have white on white relations? And
Well, because we've evolved like this for, thousands and thousands of years. I don't want to gild the lily. I don't want to, I like the way we are.
Okay, you don't see any threat to population numbers or anything like that? I know some people make that argument.
Yeah, no, I think whites need to have more children. I wish I had more children.
Yeah, you should check out the interview I did with Kaba Kamene last week, because we touched on that, and it says basically a white race or any race needs to have about I think he said 2.8 children in order to ensure the survival of their race, and whites are at like 1.8 or something like
They're
that.
doing that to us on purpose too.
Are they?
White genocide is part of the ruling elite because they don't want any competition.
Wait, but I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate here.
Sure.
They said this is all run by white supremacy. So how can white supremacy want to kill whites?
Well, I don't think it is. I think it's Jews.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Hold up before you get my YouTube channel banned.
Oh, sorry.
We're gonna have to use some code words. So you think
they themselves say that?
You said what?
Jews themselves say they want to exterminate us.
They say that themselves?
Yes, of course.
Where?
All over the place. I mean, they're on Twitter. Go on Telegram and look up the noticer.
The notice?
They'll say I'm white and I think whites should be exterminated. And then in another tweet they'll say, well, I'm actually Jewish. I'm not white.
Lord have mercy. Jesus Christ.
I told you what I am before I came on the show.
I know, but it's the language you're using right now. They got the machine learning and the AI start picking that.
I hope I don't get you banned. Sorry.
We gotta use code words, Rob.
Well, you can edit it if you want. Just don't edit it,
Nah, it's no editing. We just gotta use code words.
Okay. I mean, you're talking to someone who's IP banned from Twitter. My WordPress blog was deleted. So I'm basically kicked off the internet.
Yeah, you can't. You're not allowed to talk about that.
I hope I don't get you kicked off. I'm sorry if I did.
Nah, we good.
Okay.
That's.
I won't say anything more. Well, let's not talk about that if it's going to get you in trouble. But I mean, you know what? I can't cuck. I can't. I'm not going to be one person to you and another person with my bros. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you exactly what I think.
So you think that the moon people are running things and the white man isn't?
Correct. Because if we were, you'd know it. There wouldn't be plastic in the ocean. We'd have mass transit. There wouldn't be screen time for babies. There wouldn't be opiate addiction. If people like me was running things, you'd be all off, much better off.
Will black people still be slaves?
No. Well, unless you enslaved yourselves, unless you enslaved each other.
Because they said white people was enslaving us.
Well, now we got machines, dude. We got AI. We got tractors. No, we don't have ill will towards you. We want you to have your own sovereign countries and run your countries as the way you see fit.
Yeah.
And we run our countries and our lives the way we see fit.
Now you're saying there would be no pollution?
A lot less.
Why?
Because things wouldn't be based on growth capitalism. The way our economic system has growth for its own sake, which is the economics of the cancer cell. And it's economic growth. And so, oops, did I lose?
Damn. The moon people, the lizard man. They done got my man Rob. The topic touched on something a little too hot. We're gonna have to wait for Rob to come back. Um, Chad Lemoyne, $199, super chat, $1.99. My fault. Every woman dreams of Chad. Who would say that? Shout out to Chad. Yo, you see that chat? Shout out to Hotel Dutch in the chat. You see how they cancel my man Rob? As soon as the conversation started getting hot, we started touching on that rough topic. I tried to give him an opening when we talked about slavery. I don't know if he knows who ran slavery, but it wasn't white people or so-called white people, whatever you want to call it. I'll tell you that much. I have to talk to him offline. But then he was blowing my YouTube channel up with some of these hot button words. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing, Rob? You can't say that, Rob. Jason Lee, $5 super chat. He said, free Rob Freeman. Real talk. Free Rob, man. The homie Rob. But I think Rob's a very interesting guy. I think that Rob, there's a lot of people that think like Rob, feel like the way Rob feels. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You know, um, self-preservation is hardwired into this. They want to survive. They want to thrive. Hardwired in all of us. Some of us have been disconnected from ourselves, though. So here we are. I don't know if you want to get Rob back, but I'd like to say thank you to everybody that came through the chat, everybody that came through to listen to the stream. I'll get this up on SoundCloud. My daughter will actually get this thing up on SoundCloud. I'm a little bit behind on episodes. You might see like 4 or 5 episodes go up at the same time. So work your way through those. Um, SoundCloud.com slash HOTEP Jesus, I believe. Let me just make sure that's it. SoundCloud.com slash HOTEP Jesus. All of my podcast episodes got some really good discussions on here. Larry Johnson, that was a really popular episode, really good discussion. Dr. Sheba, Steve Patterson, um, Sonny Johnson, Crypto Blood, Brenda Murata, Jose King, I realize these, Taylor Burrows, PhD in relationships. A lot of qualified people that are good, big brain talk. But I appreciate y'all for coming through and watch this. Um, for watching this stream. And we'll be back next week. Got a bunch of good guests coming. Really, really good guests coming. I want to get Shaka in next week. I got Tahuti, my aunt Ra. We'll be talking science of health. It's going to be really good. He's a herbalist. It's going to be a really good conversation. I'm going to try to get Aiken on here. Aiken does video, he does audio only. I'm going to try to get him on the phone call and record that for y'all. We're going to get Brooke on here. I'm going to get Brooke on here like soon, like within the next week or so. And we're going to talk coronavirus and health as well. Want to make sure we get. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that donation. But I want to make sure we understand mind, things that we're doing for our mind. I think we covered that well this week. Um, covered that well last week. I think we covered that well on all these episodes. But spirit is something. Spirit is something that is something that's important as well. And I think we covered that well last week with Kaba Kamine. But they say the audio coming in crazy. So I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate y'all. Jack listening. They're doing their numbers, trying to slow this up. We'll be back next week, y'all. Peace out.